Your brain has been lying to you, and it does it on purpose. Here's the experiment that proves it. Ring an alarm bell exactly 100 times. 99 times it's nothing, a paper bag, a shadow, static. One time it's real. If you're the kind of animal that ignores the bell after the 99th false alarm, you're dead by round 100. If you're the kind of animal that flinches every single time, you survive. Jumpy, exhausted, but alive. That's you. Evolutionary psychiatrist Randolph Nesse calls it the smoke detector principle. A smoke detector that never misses a real fire will also scream at burnt toast. And evolution built you to be that detector, tuned to overreact, not to be accurate. For 200,000 years, the cost of a false alarm was a wasted adrenaline spike. But the cost of missing the one real threat was your genes ending with you. Natural selection doesn't care about your Tuesday afternoon. It only cares that you didn't die before Wednesday. Which means the racing heart when your boss says, "Can we talk?" The spiral when a text goes unanswered for 3 hours. The 2 a.m. replay of something you said in 2019. None of that is a malfunction. It's the smoke detector, working exactly as designed, just aimed at the wrong century. Your ancestors' threats were teeth and cliffs. Yours are a read receipt and an inbox. Same alarm, wrong target. Here's the catch. The alarm doesn't just ring. It writes you a story to go with it. Psychiatrist Beck spent his career cataloguing how anxious and depressed minds distort. Not lie exactly, but round every ambiguous signal toward disaster. Catastrophizing. A headache becomes a tumor before you've finished the sentence. Mind reading. She hasn't replied, so she's obviously angry at you. A fact you invented and then believed. Fortune telling. You already know the interview will go badly, with the confidence of someone reporting the news. None of these thoughts arrive labelled unverified guess. They arrive labelled obviously true, at the exact same volume as things that actually are true. But the real version is almost always the boring one. The headache is tension, not a tumor. The silence is a dead phone battery or a long meeting, not fury. The interview outcome hasn't been decided by anyone yet, least of all your brain. That's the whole trick. Your brain doesn't distinguish between a fact and a fear when it's under threat. It just fires, fast, and hands you the conclusion already signed. There's a reason the alarm feels so convincing, and it's wired into your skull. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux mapped 2 separate routes a threat signal takes through the brain. The slow route runs through the cortex, the part that reasons, checks context, remembers you're probably fine. The fast route skips the cortex entirely, a direct line from the thalamus straight to the amygdala, your brain's alarm center. That fast route is roughly twice as quick, and it always arrives first. which means by the time your rational brain finishes the sentence, "Wait, this is probably nothing," your body has already been flooded with stress hormones for a full second or two. You're not imagining the intensity. The feeling genuinely does arrive before the thinking does. That's not a character flaw. It's just a matter of which road got there first. So here's the one sentence worth remembering. A thought is an event in your brain. It is not a verdict about reality. It happened, that part's true. What it claims, that part still needs evidence. Most of us skip that second step entirely. We feel the thought arrive with full conviction and mistake the conviction for proof. But confidence is a feeling your brain generates. It was never a measurement of accuracy. So how do you make it stop? The answer is smaller than you'd expect. UCLA neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman ran people through brain scans while they looked at upsetting images. One group just felt the feeling. The other group put it into a few words. "I'm feeling anger." Nothing more. In the group that named it, activity in the amygdala, the brain's alarm center, measurably dropped, while a region tied to regulation lit up instead. Simply labeling an internal state turns down the alarm. Neuroscientists call it affect labeling. Parents doing this with a screaming toddler call it name it to tame it. Same mechanism. Here's how you use it. The moment a spiraling thought shows up, don't argue with it and don't obey it. Just name what's happening, out loud or in your head. I'm having the thought that I'm going to get fired, not I'm going to get fired. I'm having the thought that I'm going to get fired. That one shift from being the thought to noticing the thought is the whole technique. Therapists call it cognitive diffusion. You're not suppressing it. You're not fighting it. You're just stepping 1 inch back from it. From inside the storm to watching the storm. That inch is enough to stop the freefall. Because you can't be swept away by weather you're currently describing out loud. Your friend didn't reply because she's driving, not because she's furious. Your chest feels tight because you didn't sleep, not because your heart is failing. The smoke detector doesn't know the difference between toast and fire. You have to be the one who checks the kitchen. Tonight's exercise. When a thought shows up carrying fear or anxiety, ask yourself 2 questions. First, what's the actual evidence? Not the feeling, the evidence. Second, is there another possible explanation? The kind that's the opposite of your thought, maybe even boring. A third question, borrowed from therapists. If your closest friend told you this exact thought, word for word, what would you actually say back to them? You'd never tell a friend their headache is definitely a tumor. The gap between how gently you treat someone else's alarm and how harshly you treat your own, that's usually where the truth is hiding. 9 times out of 10, the boring explanation is the one that turns out to be true. Your brain isn't broken, and it isn't lying to hurt you. It's doing exactly the job it was built for, 200,000 years too late. You don't need to silence it. You just need to stop taking its word for it. Leave a comment with what you're taking away from today. Subscribe. Every day, a little closer to understanding life. See you tomorrow.